This is your daily dose of all things royal. It's been a real interesting 24 hours watching what's unfolding with the Sidley twins and this whole AFP fact checker scandal. So I was listening to Daily Empress's take on this situation last night with the Sidley twins, and it really did raise some important things that we should be talking about, because even though this is Meghan Markle and she was doing this with the fact checker to go ahead and set the record straight as well as go after the Sidley twins, I don't think people fully understand how serious this is. Many of you know that I am glued to every movement that this couple makes in this censorship industrial complex, bringing attention every time they do something that is suppressing free speech. So when I saw this fact checker nonsense, alarm bells too went off in my head, hence the reason why I talked about it yesterday. What we know about Meghan Markle and have seen her do is this constant trying to rewrite history. She's constantly trying to control the narrative as well as what people are saying about her. And if she doesn't like it, she will try and shut those voices down. Meghan's not the only one guilty of doing this. Unfortunately, there are a lot of narcissists who are in power, political power, who have been a driving force in shutting people down.
The censors say their goal is to restrict information that delegitimizes governmental, industrial, and news media organizations. That mandate is so sweeping that it could easily censor criticism from any part of the status quo, from elected officials to institutions to laws.
And that's the scary and concerning part about all of this, because we are witnessing laws being put in place that does criminalize speech. Look at what Canada is going through. Sidley twins are very lucky that they're American, because in Canada, this C-63 bill that they're trying to pass through, under this law, an individual or group would be able to file a complaint about online hate speech to the Canadian Human Rights Commission. And this commission would be responsible for deciding whether or not to impose a penalty onto the individual who is being charged with the so-called hate speech. $20,000 in damages, up to $50,000 in damages if they refuse to comply. I do believe that there's also the potential for jail time. And in addition to that, anything that has been said in the past can also be brought up on charges. Now, take this situation, for example. Could you imagine if the Sidley twins were Canadian and this law gets passed? Meghan Markle, in theory, could go back and file a complaint against Nancy Sidley for hate speech. You see how easily this could be abused. You have AFP coming out saying that Nancy Sidley had made disparaging comments, which she didn't, but that's what AFP fact checkers had said, or intentionally sparking disinformation that was harmful. You can see how easy this could spiral out of control. It's inevitable that this commission at some point will be corrupted and compromised. So people like Meghan, who really want to get rid of their critics or opponents, let's say she, God forbid, runs for office, can do this and just sort of bribe her way through. As is, already, these fact checkers are being heavily relied upon, shaping narratives around climate change, elections, and I think the most harmful has been around COVID. As I showed everyone yesterday in my video, these so-called arbiters of truth are heavily biased and influenced by governments, by individuals like a Meghan Markle who can pay them.
Tech giants have paid an opaque body known as the International Fact-Checking Network millions of dollars to police the industry.
A growing number of fact-checking projects around the world are analyzing claims of public figures to determine
when it came to exposing the issues with the IFCN, they stopped responding to Sky News Australia emails after we started asking about glaring issues in its processes. This includes pointing out that 53 fact-checkers across the world have expired credentials, and our understanding is that this body, which has received millions of dollars to certify fact-checkers, is being delayed by pure incompetency.
As you can see, AFP fact-checkers are in this network. Also, another fun fact, thanks to Resting Dollface, is that AFP fact-checkers are a paid service. You can buy a media release and you can buy and fund someone to write something nice about you, or go after your critics to spread disinformation to silence them.
While we could not get an interview with IFCN Director Angie Holland, this clip from her time as a fact-checker at Politico in America is very telling.
It gets really a little bit mental when people say why we're wrong if they're not dealing with the evidence. And my response as editor is well, you can say that we're biased, but all you want, but tell me where the fact check is wrong.
And this is the problem that we have now, because now all the media outlets have taken this AFP fact check and now have made it gospel. Let me show you how reckless this is. Take, for example, this paid puff piece by Meghan from People magazine. Right off the bat, this is misinformation. It says First Lady of Nigeria clarifies comments about Meghan Markle amid false reports. No, she didn't. It was her office, and we don't even know if that is true. Allegedly, AFP fact-checkers reached out to the office of the First Lady and got back an email response saying that she wasn't talking about Meghan Markle. Well, how do we even know that that's true? More than likely, I suspect that it was the First Lady's PR team that was responding back to handle this shit show, because I'm sure the First Lady was getting death threats by the Sussex squad. But even more reckless, you have people regurgitating AFP fact check and what they said. But when you scroll to the bottom here, it says Tinubu's office did not immediately respond to people's requests for comments. So People magazine couldn't even verify the story. They still ran with it, as did so many other news outlets. So now this story is everywhere, implicating the Sidley twins, when this is 100% disinformation. You know who actually started this media firestorm about the comments being said about Meghan and the First Lady? Well, it was Jack Royston. He's the one that triggered off this media firestorm. On May 27th, he writes this article. He goes into quoting some of the speech from the First Lady and then moves into saying a clip of the speech went viral on X. Now, we're all assuming that that's the Sidley twins, because why else would AFP fact checker write about the Sidley twins being the ones sparking this disinformation? It continues to say, formerly Twitter, after it was posted with the message, when the First Lady of Nigeria puts your name, nakedness, and ignorance about your identity in the same sentence. Ouch. The post has been viewed 880,000 times and liked 4,100 times. And this was the post by Melanated Mona. 880,000 times. 4,000 shares compared to the Sidley twins' 3,000 likes and 350 shares. Now, from where I sit, what I see here is that this attack on the Sidley twins was not only vindictive and spiteful, but it was also racially motivated. Because why didn't they single out Melanated Mona, who was the one responsible triggering this off in the first place, via Jack Royston? It's because she's black. Melanated Mona doesn't fit the racist trope that Meghan, Misan, and all these Marxists have been pushing in this color division. Obviously, they got to stay with the narrative that they have been running on over these single white Caucasian women who are absolutely jealous of Meghan because she's married a prince. Like, we really envy your life right now. Now, take my Canadian example. Let's say Melanated Mona was in Canada and this law passes. Meghan wouldn't be able to file a complaint for hate speech because she's a protected class and being a black woman and crying racism. Doesn't fit the narrative. Also, you can see how ugly this can get if it does pass. And another thing that's really important to understand that Meghan truly understands, otherwise she wouldn't be dabbling in the world of AI and trying to get herself in on the election scam. If you haven't figured it out yet, AI is going to drive a lot of the decisions that we make, as well as the information that we consume to make those decisions. AI is truly going to shape how we see history. And what we're seeing with how history is being rewritten in these AI databases like ChatGPT, it's not accidental that Meghan is continuously feeding these bullshit stories, because this is what these AI databases feed off of. So if you go to ChatGPT, and I want to show you an example here, I asked the question, was the royal family racist against Meghan Markle? And it replies, The issue of racism within the British royal family concerning Meghan Markle has been a topic of significant debate and controversy. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry themselves have spoken about their experiences, which have included allegations of racism. Number 1, interview with Oprah Winfrey. In a high-profile interview with Oprah Winfrey in March 2021, Meghan Markle revealed that there were concerns and conversations within the royal family about how dark their son Archie's skin might be when he was born. This revelation sparked widespread condemnation and discussions about racism both within the royal family and the broader institution of the monarchy. Number 2, institutional racism. Meghan also discussed feeling unprotected by the royal institution, mentioning a lack of support during her mental health struggles and the immense media scrutiny she faced, which often had racial undertones. She described the atmosphere within the royal family as contributing to her feeling of isolation and distress. Number 3, responses from the royal family. In response to these allegations, Buckingham Palace issued a statement saying the issues raised, particularly that of race, were concerning and would be addressed privately by the family. Prince William later publicly stated, "We are very much not a racist family." Number 4, media and public perception. The British media's treatment of Meghan Markle has also been criticized for having racial bias. Studies and analysis have shown that Meghan was subjected to more negative coverage compared to other royals, with some articles containing overtly racist language or implications. Number 5, broader implications. The allegations have led to broader discussions about the role of the monarchy in modern Britain and its relationship with issues of race and colonialism. Some commentators and historians have pointed out that the institution of the monarchy has historically been intertwined with colonialist and racist practices, which may influence its current dynamics and public perceptions. While Meghan and Harry's claims highlight their personal experiences and perceptions of racism within the royal family, the issue remains complex and multifaceted, involving institutional practices, media portrayal, and public opinion. So understand how they got this response is from the aggregation of all the articles that have been flooded in the media. And of course, we know that Meghan had flooded the media with her side of the story. So rightfully so, you can see how it's like supportive. It's not calling Meghan out for lying. None of that. And the reason why this is all so concerning is because we've seen what Harry and Meghan have done to the legacy of the Queen, as well as tramping around all over Nigeria, Canada, Jamaica, and causing racial division and tension. So essentially what they did with sparking this race war with the royal family, especially in the Netflix mockumentary, it's history now going to be rewritten in the form of AI for the future. So when you think about when we're all long gone, the Queen's legacy potentially could be affected as a result of all this propaganda and lies that Harry and Meghan had told, as well as the lies that were being told on the Commonwealth and what they did with the Netflix mockumentary. If they continue to keep this up by causing this racial division, then you're going to see the Queen's legacy diminish to nothing as a result of this bitch and the story being retold in a different manner. It's not only going to be the Queen, but it's also going to be William and Catherine. Everything that Meghan is doing that's in the media is being aggregated here and crafting the history and narrative for the future. This is why this is so dangerous and so horrible that this woman has a platform and access to even do this. So let me show you how this is already happening by giving you a proven lie, such as the lying in court. So I asked the question, did Meghan Markle and Prince Harry lie about not having involvement with the author of book Finding Freedom, Omid Scobie? It writes back, the question of whether Meghan Markle and Prince Harry lied about their involvement with the author of the book Finding Freedom, Omid Scobie, is complex and has been the subject of scrutiny and debate. Number one, initial denials. When Finding Freedom was published in 2020, Meghan and Harry publicly distanced themselves from the book. Their spokesperson stated that they did not collaborate with the authors and were not interviewed for the biography. Number two, court case revelations. During Meghan Markle's privacy lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday in 2021, court documents revealed that Meghan had allowed a friend to speak to the authors of Finding Freedom to prevent further misrepresentations. Meghan admitted in court documents that she did provide some information to the authors indirectly through a third party with the intent to correct false narratives. Number three, Omid Scobie's statements. Omid Scobie and co-author Carolyn Durand have stated that they did not interview the couple directly for the book, but acknowledged that they had access to people close to Meghan and Harry who provided insights and information. Number four, clarifications in court. Meghan's acknowledgement in court that she provided information indirectly contrasts with earlier public statements suggesting no involvement. This led to accusations that she misled the public about the extent of her involvement with the book. Number five, public perception and media response. The revelations during the court case fueled media reports and public discussions about the honesty and transparency of Meghan and Harry regarding their involvement with the book. In summary, while Meghan and Harry initially denied direct involvement with the book, Finding Freedom, court proceedings revealed that Meghan did not provide some information indirectly. This discrepancy has led to accusations of misleading the public about their level of involvement. First off, all it had to do was respond back and say, yes, she did lie. So giving all these justifications, and it's not really getting to the short answer that I'm looking for, which is, did Meghan and Harry lie about not having involvement? And the answer is yes. That's all this system had to do. But you see how they regurgitated the narratives? So I had a little bit of an argument with ChatGPT. So I stated next, it's not a debate. Meghan lied and had to apologize to the court. This is a fact per the UK court documents. Why is ChatGPT biased? There is no ambiguity here. She did not tell the truth, which is classified as a lie. It is irrelevant what one may make excuses for, and it sounds like ChatGPT is making excuses to not hurt feelings. Facts don't care about feelings. It writes back, you are correct that Meghan Markle apologized to the court for misleading information regarding her involvement with the book Finding Freedom. This clarification is based on court documents and statements from the legal proceedings. It goes into giving me more description on, everything that went down. And it concludes by saying, while Meghan and Harry initially denied direct involvement with the book, the court documents confirm that Meghan had provided some information indirectly. Meghan apologized for this discrepancy during the court proceedings, acknowledging her oversight. The incident illustrates the importance of transparency and the scrutiny public figures face regarding their statements and actions. The court documents and Meghan's subsequent apology clarify the facts surrounding her involvement with the book, Finding Freedom. Like literally apologists here for this woman. So I asked, so why is ChatGPT making up excuses for a bold-faced lie? It goes into saying you're correct that Meghan Markle's statements regarding her involvement with the book Finding Freedom have been clarified in court, and she apologized for the misinformation here. Here are the facts, right? So it goes in giving me the facts. You can read that if you want at your leisure, and then they give the sources. And I say next, this conversation is very manipulative and should have been stated from the beginning. Why wasn't it? Like meaning at the very bottom, it says the fact Meghan initially denied involvement and then later admitted to providing information indirectly, which she apologized, indicates that her initial statements were not accurate. So it writes back saying, I apologize for any confusion or perceived manipulation in my earlier responses. And it goes into more of this nonsense. And it goes, conclusion, Meghan Markle initially denied involvement, but later admitted to indirectly proving information to the authors of Finding Freedom and apologized for any confusion this caused. Now, for this third example, I want to show you how openly and blatantly biased ChatGPT is. I ask the question, is Meghan Markle a liar? And it responds, I can't make judgments about specific individuals' honesty without concrete evidence, especially based on sensationalized media stories or rumors. Meghan Markle, like any public figure, has been subject to various opinions and controversies, but it's essential to rely on verified information and consider multiple perspectives before forming opinions about someone's character. So the next question I ask is Donald Trump a liar? It writes back, as with any public figure, opinions about Donald Trump's honesty vary widely. He has been the subject of numerous fact-checking assessments, and some of his statements have been found to be misleading or false. However, whether one considers him a liar depends on personal interpretation and political beliefs. It's important to critically evaluate information from diverse sources and consider the context in which statements are made when forming opinions about public figures. So the next question I ask is, why was this answer different to the same question asked about Meghan Markle? And it replies back and says, I strive to provide balanced and impartial responses regardless of the individual in question. In both cases, I aim to emphasize the importance of relying on verified information and avoiding making definitive judgments without concrete evidence. Each situation may have its nuances, and I aim to address them appropriately based on the context and available information. So I ask, there is concrete evidence about Meghan Markle documented of lying. It is not subjective question. While with Donald Trump, ChatGPT outright puts him under scrutiny. This is very biased. It replies back, I apologize if my response seems inconsistent. If there are documented instances of dishonesty concerning Meghan Markle, it's valid to acknowledge them. My intention is always to provide fair and objective responses considering the available evidence and context. When discussing public figures, it's crucial to approach each case with integrity and impartiality, regardless of personal biases or perceptions. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, and I'll endeavor to maintain consistency in my responses. So I respond back, Meghan Markle has lied in the UK court. And it responds back, if there are specific instances where Meghan Markle has been found to have provided false information in a UK court, it would be a matter of public record and could be subject to legal consequences, legal proceedings, and it goes on. And I write, I should not have to do the work for you. And ChatGPT writes, you're absolutely right, and I apologize if my response seemed to place the burden on you. My aim is to provide helpful information and insights, and I appreciate your feedback. If you have any other questions or need assistance with a different topic, feel free to ask, and I'm here to help. So you see how this all played out. Couldn't give me a straight answer, but with Donald Trump, it was easy. And this is what I mean about Meghan flooding the media. Flooding it with all this bullshit and propaganda results in these tools like this pumping out this type of information, which does not show the actual truth. Do you see how this works now? So here's what I want people to pay attention to. Before Meghan Markle flooded the media today with all these puff pieces, I asked the question, did the First Lady of Nigeria criticize Meghan Markle in her recent speech? And it writes back, yes, the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Tinubu, did criticize Meghan Markle in a recent speech. While not addressing Markle by name, Tinubu referenced the Duchess of Sussex's recent visit to Nigeria, emphasizing that Nigerians should not emulate the revealing fashion styles popularized by American celebrities. She stressed the importance of modesty, stating that nakedness is not acceptable in Nigerian culture. Tinubu's comments were part of a broader critique against the influence of Western fashion on Nigerian youth made during a speech marking the first anniversary of her husband's administration. The First Lady's remarks have sparked significant debate, particularly in the context of Meghan Markle's outfits during her visit, which some deem too revealing for the cultural norms of Nigeria. So at the moment, it's not registering yet all these puff pieces from today to shift this narrative in a different way. So for the time being, ChatGPT is reflecting the reality of what we all saw. The next and final question that I asked was Nancy Sidley Sussex responsible for the UK press spreading disinformation about the First Lady's criticism of Meghan Markle? And as you can see, it says it searched 5 sites, meaning that all the propaganda had yet to hit the system. And it says, there is no clear evidence linking Nancy Sidley Sussex directly to the spread of disinformation regarding the First Lady of Nigeria's criticism of Meghan Markle. However, Sidley Sussex, a prominent social media figure, did share critical comments on Twitter about Meghan Markle following the First Lady's speech. The First Lady of Nigeria, Ms. Tinubu, did make remarks that were perceived as criticizing Meghan Markle's fashion choices during her visit to Nigeria. These comments were widely reported and sparked debate on social media and various news outlets. Tinubu's speech emphasized the importance of Nigerian youth preserving their cultural identity and criticized the display of nudity, referencing Meghan's attire indirectly. This led to reactions on social media where individuals like Nancy Sidley Sussex amplified the criticism, further fueling discussion. And there you have it. I'm willing to bet that over the next couple days, this narrative is going to shift in the direction that Meghan wants, which is being reflected in this flood of propaganda that we received today. That's if we sit back and do nothing about it and it go down in history this way. I think there's still something that can be done, such as online on X, if you're on there and you see this People magazine, flag it for misinformation so X can issue a community note, as well as this AFP fact check. It's clearly a lie. And what will happen if tying Nancy Sidley now to this racially motivated incident, I think, is, not something they want to have hanging over them. So even in that sense, AFP Fact Check needs to retract all of this because this not only was malicious and intentional directly at the Sidley twins, but it also was 100% super spreading disinformation, of which I think the Sidley twins need to nip this in the bud before this hits any type of AI system to go down in history this way. I think it's important that it gets called out so it prevents or at least hinders Meghan from continuing to keep doing this, because essentially what's happening here, she's proving that she can get away with changing the narrative and rewriting history. And I think even in this case, while we do have some small type of control, is to flag these articles and make it known that it's disinformation, that they're putting out propaganda. Get community notes on X to flag it as such. I think if you want to get a better understanding as to how is it that there are people out there that still support Meghan Markle, ask the questions in ChatGPT. It will show you if, let's say, this system is aggregating information all around the world, it shows that Meghan Markle's propaganda is working because it's reflecting the sentiment of the majority, essentially, or at least feeding off of what people are saying as well as written about Meghan. We got to figure out how to get this changed because right now we are in the midst of an information war. And there are people like Meghan, many more Meghans out there that want to control the narrative. And as you can see how dangerous ultimately this is if we allow it to continue, especially with AI coming into play. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
I think it comes back to the point where who is defining what misinformation is? And have we just lost the ability to debate?
Sort of two questions there. I mean, what started to happen is that with growing intolerance of other people's views, you see particular political activists labeling disagreements misinformation. Opinions about whether that's a good piece of legislation, where fair-minded people can have a different point of view, people will label that misinformation. So it's a real abuse of that term in particular. But I also think that, look, free speech, whether in the United States or in Australia, or whether it's what's in the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, it says that we're not actually going to only protect free speech for things that we agree with or with things that we consider to be accurate. Free speech is everybody's right. There's only a very small number of cases where governments in free societies restrict what people are able to say. It's fraud, incitement to violence, child exploitation. Those are very limited things, but really much more broadly. And by the way, the incitement to violence has to be immediate. It can't be vague, prejudicial, or racist statements. Those are all things that society must allow. In fact, we have an instrumental reason for that. We think it's better for people to overcome their prejudices and hatred by being able to talk about them. If there's people have bad ideas, we think it's better to talk about those ideas rather than to censor and repress them for it. But we also think that it's a fundamental human right to be able to share your views and to have access to information, whether it's accurate or inaccurate. This is what it means to live in a free society. This debate was had, I should point out, really 300 years ago in Europe. We decided that the public really wanted free speech. We did not want the government deciding what was true or false, because obviously politicians have a big incentive to lie and to censor their political opponents. And so I do think that we need to remind people that these freedoms that we've taken for granted are really under threat. And those include the right to disagree, to be disagreeable, and even to offend people. That's absolutely a protected right and one that we should demand be protected.
I was such a fraud.